Welcome to another House of Wisdom videos, and happily my package containing all my knives that I purchased and my scores from Blade Show 2018 have arrived. So we're going to see what's in here. Now that we have the knives unpacked, the first knife I want to show you is the Clyde Challenor Hornet. Before you here have the slightly larger talons, the one that I purchased last year and then the one that I won in a lottery this year. This Hornet is a front flipper, whereas the talons are side flippers. And I just want to show you the nice Damasteel blade that this sports. And on the owner's card, it doesn't tell what type of Damasteel blade, except that it is a Damasteel blade. The handle is a stonewashed titanium with double-sided inserts. That's the thing that's different about Clyde's knives now. I'll show you the knife from last year. It has a carbon fiber insert, much like this year's model. However, he used to only do one-sided carbon fiber inserts. He got some customer feedback that said that they would really prefer a more balanced look, and so he started doing the inserts on both the show scale and the clip side. So here is the Clyde Challenor Hornet. The action is impeccable, and it's a great blade. The next blade is a Clyde Challenor Talon. It's my second Talon, and I really hadn't anticipated buying one of these. I saw that there weren't many people into the lottery, and he encouraged me to enter my name, so I went ahead and did it. I entered it both on... He had two Talons for lottery. One was this Dragon Scale Damascus blade with Damascus inserts. The other was a Damasteel blade, a regular Damasteel blade with Damasteel inserts on both sides. So I entered for both, and my name was called, and I had won the Dragon Scale, which I was really excited about. I liked this blade. I had seen it the year before and thought it was fantastic. And Clyde confided in me that this was probably the last Dragon Scale Damascus blade he'd ever make, because he says just doing the treatment on it takes a day and a half. It's so time intensive, he really didn't want to get into that. I just want to show you the beauty of it. And I don't know if you can appreciate in this light that there are multiple different colors there. Starts at tan, then goes to kind of a taupe and a brown. There's a light orange, a darker orange, a red, a maroon. There's some greens in there, some things that look like blue in there. There's all different kinds of colors, and each one of those is a step in his process. He says it just takes a whole day and a half to do that, but wow, this is just an incredibly looking blade. I think it's the most interesting Damasteel that's made. And then he has the Damascus inserts, which are well done, both on the show scale and the clip side. The Challenor pivot is distinctive in that it is proprietary looking, but you can use a slotted screwdriver, straight screwdriver, or a coin, which he recommends, like a copper coin, like a penny, to undo the pivot. And I think it's brilliant. Shirogorov and Chebrikov both have proprietary pivots that you can use a slotted screwdriver coin to do too, but really like Clyde Challenor's work. Put these off to the side. The next blade I would like to show to you is the Koenig Arias, and I've been looking at this. I passed on it the first blade show because I just saw that it had a 3.5-inch blade, which really isn't in my wheelhouse of blades, but I picked this particular one up and I was smitten by how light it is. It has a carbon fiber scale on the show side. The clip side is a stonewash black wash. It is heavily pocketed on the titanium side, so this turns out to be a very light knife, and the action is just wow, drop shut, world class. I also like the Tiffany blue hardware clip and back spacer with lanyard hole that they put on it. It gives an interesting pop of color. Very few knife makers use Tiffany blue, and I thought it was stunning, so I had to have the Koenig Arias. It weighs in at only 4.1 ounces, which is very light for such a substantial knife. Not only does it have a long blade at 3.5 inches, but it's also a wide blade and a wide handle. It really fills your hand out well. And this is one that has an action that's just so drop shut smooth. You love playing with it. Can't put it down, so I had to have it. The Koenig Arias. The next knife I'd like to show you is the Koenig Mini Goblin. This knife is a collaboration with Sharp Knife Co. I'll show you here. You see on this side the Koenig maker's mark, and on this side of blade the Sharp Knife Co. maker mark on the clip side. The handle is sterile and it fits great in your hand. This is a smaller knife. The blade is maybe 3.1 inches and it has a beautiful drop point with a hollow ground and then a Wharncliffe approach. But of all the knives, my kids tell me, which are unbiased knife evaluators, that this has the nicest action of any knife I purchased. And my kids tend to gravitate toward this, so I really like it. It's new out. There were only about 20 released at the show, and I was fortunate enough to get one of the 20. So this is the Koenig Mini Goblin. The next knife I picked up at Blade is a Strider PT of the mixed Strider custom type. I already have a couple of others, and this makes every PT that I'm aware of being made. First is the CC, which doesn't carry a clip. It's the lightest version. It's a green G10 on this one, and it's made to just slip in your pocket. And then I also have a Strider PT Lego, which has less rounded scales, more boxy scales. It has a solid back spacer with a clip, and it's a nice knife. It fits right in your pocket just nicely. And then here's the mixed Strider Custom. It has back spacers, standoffs instead of back spacers, and it's a full titanium knife. It has an interesting coloration. The edges are a little bit of blue. There's some purple in the center. There's some gold over here. So gold, purple, and blue are the primary colors. This one tends to have a orange peel kind of finish underlying the anodizing. It has a blade that's interesting. The shape is a little different than the regular shape. You can tell it has a little more belly here, and it's still a beautiful thing. This blade is different in that it has a chisel grind. Here you have the primary bezel that goes to a secondary bezel, and that's on the clip side. On the show side, it's just the primary bevel going straight down, and there's no secondary bezel. So to sharpen this knife, you only have to sharpen one side, which is an interesting thing. Not a lot of knives carry a chisel grind, but Mick chose on his PT Mixed Strider Custom to do a chisel grind and beautiful anodizing, and that's the Mixed Strider Custom PT. Next knife I got was a Arcform Slimfoot, and this is one of the chunkiest, heaviest knives I own. It's 5.43 ounces. Usually I don't go for over 5 ounces knives, but the action on this was so perfect. Look at how it returns like that. It was so much fun to flip and play with. I just had to get it. Plus, I'm going through a copper phase. This has a copper insert. It also comes with a brass insert. It comes in a carbon fiber insert, and it just comes in a plain titanium handle, I believe, also. And I have some other copper things here. I got a copper driver handle for my Torx bits, and whenever I got my Brad Southard Mini Toke, I got a copper bat spacer. I really like the way copper looks and the way it patinas over time. One other thing besides the action that's distinctive and great about this is that look at how forward the flipper tab is in relationship to the pivot. So it really flies out there, even though the blade is thick and chunky and has a lot of mass. It flies out of there, but because the blade is so heavy, it really returns nicely and has this beautiful, satisfying action. That's the Arcform Slimfoot. Knife I wanted to show you guys is the Giant Mouse Acebiblio. This is a Jens Anzo Jesper Voxnes design, both of who are from Denmark. I love the Factor iconic compact flipper, and this is an example of that. This was made by Factor Knives. The design language was so similar to a Jens Anzo design. As you can tell, the blades have this bird beak looking drop point. They have the oval Hawkeye-looking opening hole, and then the handles are very similar. Well, anyway, you can tell the design language is so similar that Factor was required to take this off of the market, and actually I got this at a discount. But I love this so much, just the Genzanzo look, that I thought I would go into Giant Mouse, which is a company that produces the Genzanzo look, but you, instead of paying over $1,000, this cost only $125. It has a loop over wire clip that is reversible. It can be left carry also. It has stainless steel liners. It has standoffs, and it has this green micarta. They also have it in a G10 form, but I really love the green micarta. I've had it in other knives. For example, whenever I ordered my Brad Southard, I got the green canvas micarta inserts, and with the oils of your hands, they turn darker. I also have a Brad Southard that has green micarta handles. Kevin Smock, who now makes his own knife, and this year came out with the Spyderco Smock, he used to be a knife modder before he became a maker, and this is when he did where he changed out and made green micarta over travel stop and show side scales in this micarta. And this, as you put the oils of your hands on it, it gets darker and smoother. Whereas this is a green micarta that's pretty light right now and a little rough and grippy. As my oils of my hands get on it, it'll get darker and smoother and just feel better and better. So I really like green micarta. I like Genzanzo, so it was a knife that I had to pick up. Plus, really between you guys and me, I think the Spyderco loop over wire clip is one of my favorite clips. It's just simple and unobtrusive. I really like it. I like the design language of the knife. Also, I wanted to point out, here's another Voxnez design that Viper makes. It's called the Odino, and that's the same idea in the design language. So I just like the Denmark makers. I like the way their knives look. I like the way that they act. And so there we go, the Giant Mouse Acebiblio. Ace is the division of Giant Mouse that's going to be putting out knives with the same design language but a little bit less expensive. They have their full titanium versions which go $400 or $500. These are going to be a little less expensive, so it's a good quality knife for the cost. The next knife I'd like to show you is an Andre Thorburn knife, and this was the second table I went to after Richard Rogers, and Tyler from Tovarish Works was there also, and we were competing for the same set of knives. So this was the only one that I saw that had this beautiful bolster. It's hand engraved by Julien Marchot, who is born and trained and raised in Belgium, but he's expatriated to South Africa and lives there now, and works some in Andre Thorburn's shop. But wow, look at this bolster. And I don't know if you can catch that it has some subtle anodizing coloration to it. I'll show you the other side also. This is all hand engraved. And then the main part of the handle is lightning strike carbon fiber that is just as smooth as glass, and they're perfectly mated. Your thumb can't even tell the difference until you get into the engraving part there. And the back spacer, as well as the liners, are titanium. They're blue anodized, and then with the hand filing, he did some gold anodizing on the hand filing. The action is typically Thorburn smooth. It's just completely smooth. I love the action on his knives. The blade is a bit of a harpoon look to it with polished flats and then hand-rubbed satin on the grind. This blade has a wonderful action. One of the things that the kids pointed out to me, I'll bring in another knife here, is that this has a left-handed clip instead of a right-handed clip, and I didn't really notice it. I was just so focused on the beauty of the knife, I didn't notice if it was a left-handed clip or a right-handed clip, and it's not reversible. But then I thought, does it really matter, because the lock bar disengagement is a right-handed orientation, where, left-handed people, they have to pull the liner lock over, whereas a right-handed person pushes the liner lock over, and the cutout is on the right-handed side, so it's really designed for a right-handed person. Some makers, if they have a liner lock or a frame lock, will put the liner on this side of the knife so that a left-handed person can push just like the right-handed person pushes this. And so I was wondering, okay, when I flip it, the clip is on my palm side, okay, and then when I grip it, the clip is on my hand side, and I thought, how do I feel about the ergonomic difference in having a left versus a right-handed clip? Certainly it doesn't make any difference whenever it goes into my pocket. I was just carrying this into my pocket. Now, this is on the outside of my pocket, but I never have any problems clearing that, so I could really care less if the clip was on a left side orientation or right side orientation. I'll show you the clip, which is a typical Thorburn clip. It's 3D machined clip with a ceramic ball for its traction point. The thing that's really great about Thorburns that is just taken for granted is the action of the knife is just stellar, but really the showpiece on this for me is the Marchot hand-engraved bolsters that are just beautiful. So that's the Andre Thorburn L54. Next knife I would like to show you is the Les George Mini Harpy, and this comes in a Chad Nichols stainless Damascus that's called the Tide Pool pattern. I'll give you a good glimpse of that. And the clip is a Chad Nichols Mocha tie, and I'll let the light dance off of that for a little bit. It has a carbon fiber insert. This Mini Harpy is the template for which the Zero Tolerance 0900 was made. As you can tell, they're very similar. And the Zero Tolerance 0900 was the first collaboration that Les George had with Zero Tolerance. Les George is really one of the fathers of the little big knife. And he says that he did it just because that's what people were wanting. They wanted smaller knives for smaller hands and not just the big 3.5 to 4 inch blades. So I really appreciate him for that. And this is a knife that I've been wanting. Monkey Edge had a limited run of the Mini Harpy, and I didn't get on it, but I purchased this directly from Les George for less money than the Monkey Edges were going for. And the Monkey Edges had a regular titanium clip. They didn't have this Mocha tie, beautiful clip, Chad Nichols Mocha tie. So I thought I got a real value. It's just been on my list of to get whenever I can find them. And this was really a blinged out iteration of it. So I feel very happy about my Les George Mini Harpy. The next knife I'd like to show you guys is the Enrique Pena Lannys clip flipper. This is made by Riot. It is a total production knife, and Enrique Pena doesn't touch it at all, and that's why it's called the Pena X series. I have a Pena Barlow flipper here, and that will just say Pena. And Enrique wanted to make sure that I understood that this is not a mid-tech, it's just a production knife. These are two different iterations, but look, the design language is the same. They have this fine bead-blasted titanium bolster. They have a light blue pivot and hardware, which is exactly the same color. They're different carbon fibers. This is a regular carbon fiber, and this is a shred or a marbled carbon fiber. People call it different things. They both have the subliner lock with a over-travel stop, and this has a hand-rubbed satin grind as opposed to a stone-washed grind on the X, but the flats are both polished, and they're both beautiful knives. There are some knives that the knife by the custom maker is so much better than the one that's at a production level, but because Riot Knives made this, it looks like a Pena, it feels like a Pena as far as the action goes. I would just encourage you to buy this without reservation. This knife is 3 times the cost of this knife. This is about $1,000, and this is going to be in the $350 range, so I really think it's one of the best values I came across at blade shows. So that's the Enrique Pena Lannys Clip Flipper by Riot Knives. The next knife we have that I got, this is another knife that's been out for a while that I didn't think I would like, but I went by the Riot booth and started flipping knives and playing with knives, and I was so impressed by the action of this knife that I had to have it, and I'm sure I passed by it because I saw the stats on it. This is another knife that is over 5 ounces. It's 5.29 ounces, but I was smitten with the Damascus steel blade and the milling on the handle, but mostly the action. It had all this beauty, with a great action, and it costs less than $500. And I always say to myself, how in the world does Riot make such world-class knives for such a low cost? So anyway, I need to make a video on the heaviest and best instead of the lightest and best, because I got two knives that are over 5 ounces, and I thought it was going to be too big and too heavy, but it's so much fun to flip and play with it, I just had to get it. That's the Riot Mini Horizon. The next and last knife I wanted to show you is the Beggs Knives Mini Glimpse. This is a smaller iteration of the Glimpse, which has only about a 3-inch blade. And this one is completely carbon fiber. There is a sub-liner lock, or I wouldn't call that a liner lock, I call it a sub-frame lock, that is titanium. This, you can get it with a plain clip, or you can have it with this jeweled ice clip. It has the clip that's jeweled, the back spacer's jeweled, and then, I'll see if I can demonstrate this, the inside of the back spacer is jeweled too. And I met Tobin, who is Mark Begg's son and Todd Begg's nephew, and he works in the shop and he does this. So if you get the jeweled ice finish on the clip back spacer, and then the pivot is jeweled also, except that, I'll let you show that. They didn't anodize the pivot, but he has that jeweling. And he gets a Dremel with a cutting wheel, and he cuts it at different angles, and he talked about the process, and then he'll anodize it, and that adds $50 to the cost of the knife. It goes from a $400 knife to a $450 knife, but I really like the treatment so much I wanted to get the jeweling. The carbon fiber is so smooth and feels so good, but the action is what's really great on this. This is just one of those lightly shake smooth actions, and it is completely different. I have a mini bodega too. I'll put them here side by side to point out the differences. This one has a jeweled clip. I had the gold on this one. Then it has some finishing work on the back that's interesting, and some milling work. The back spacer and the jimping are a little more prominent on this. The lanyard hold is slotted as opposed to round here. The blades, this is a two-tone blade obviously, but they have the characteristic Begg fuller with the alternating size of holes, and then a top swedge on the blade. This is a two-tone blade, but really the action on the mini bodega was sort of, you really got to shake it pretty hard, but this action is much smoother. You just shake it a little softly, and has a great action, and it feels great in your hand. That's the Beggs Knives Mini Bodega. No, excuse me, the Beggs Knives Mini Glimpse, yes. To end with, I wanted to talk a little bit about the actions of my favorite knives on the table here. And I want to talk about actions in general. For example, I talked with Tashi Barusha, one of my favorite designers, and he talked about his knives, and he said, you know, I can get an action where it's fall shut smooth. I just like it a little more hydraulic rather than just where it slams shut like a Grimsmo. And the Apostle P on his knife review channel has mentioned many times that his favorite action is one that's smooth, but it's like a Sabenza smooth, where you can put it in a certain place and it stays shut. He doesn't like to risk accidentally teeing his hand with a fall shut action. He likes it shake shut, or you can put it in a place and it'll stay there. So this is a great knife made by Clyde Challenor, and it has that type of action. I can't say it's not smooth. It's just not the fall shut smooth. So this is for people that like that fall shut smooth action. And I'm ranking them here of this 12 knives I purchased. This Koenig Mini Goblin probably has the most fall shut smooth action of any of them. It is a mechanical genius. It goes for about $550, at least at the blade show it did. And wow, that's got a smooth action. Next up is the Andre Thorburn L54. And I'll show you that action. It's really a beautifully smooth action, and all the Thorburn knives have it. That's the Andre Thorburn L54. Next comes a Koenig knife. The Koenig knives were two of the three best actions that I experienced during Blade Show. And this one, because it's such a large blade, it helps the smoothness of the action. I was interested in the Mini Goblin because it's not a big heavy blade, but wow, does it have a great action. And this is just really dialed in. Plus I like those Tiffany blue standoffs and pivots that it's got. The next one is a production knife, high-end production knife, Riot. Riot does so many things so well, and their fall shut action is just really great. This is the Mini Horizon D, has a great action. And this Arcform Slimfoot has a great action too. Its blade is really chunky, and it's got a great fall shut smooth action too. Very satisfying to sit around and flip with. And it's got a good forward flipper too, because it's so forward to the pivot. That's the Arcform Slimfoot. And lastly but not leastly, this is one of my favorite finds. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but if I were to have any value knife, I think it would be the Mini Glimpse from Begg's Knives. It's got that great fall shut action too. And this is not a heavy knife. It's a 3-ounce knife, and it's not got a heavy blade. So if you can pull that off like the Mini Goblin and the Mini Glimpse, then that's really a work of art, and I appreciate that. So those are my rankings of the best actions on the knives I purchased at Blade Show. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you on the next House of Wisdom knife review video.